Once upon a time, a man struggling to control his emotions approached Gautama Buddha for guidance. He was wrestling with anger and frustration and sought a way to better manage these overwhelming emotions. Buddha welcomed him warmly, inviting him to sit down. With a gentle smile, Buddha began, "Let me share a story with you." Buddha's tale unfolded with a king who ruled a prosperous land. One day, this king decided to visit a neighboring kingdom, having heard much about its ruler's exceptional wisdom. Upon his arrival, he was greeted with utmost honor. A grand feast was prepared in his honor, filled with the finest delicacies. However, during the feast, a small fly landed in the king's soup. Disgusted, he immediately summoned his servant to replace the bowl. Observing this, the neighboring king remarked calmly, "Your Majesty, it is just a tiny fly. Please do not let it disturb you." The visiting king replied with agitation, "I cannot tolerate such things. Even the smallest inconvenience can ruin my mood." The wise king smiled and offered his guest a word of advice. "It is not the fly that disturbed your peace, but your reaction to it. We have the power to manage our own emotions. We mustn't allow them to control us." Reflecting upon these words, the king realized their depth and returned to his kingdom with a newfound perspective. From that moment on, he began practicing the art of maintaining composure, especially in situations that previously provoked his anger. Over time, he found himself remaining calm in the face of challenges and making decisions with greater clarity. This story imparts a powerful lesson on the value of not reacting impulsively. All too often, we respond to situations without a second thought, allowing emotions like anger or frustration to dictate our actions. Such reactions can harm our relationships and cloud our ability to make sound decisions. Learning to pause and respond with intention, rather than emotion, is a skill that can profoundly impact our lives. However, practicing non-reaction does not mean suppressing our emotions entirely. Emotions are natural aspects of the human experience, and it is essential to acknowledge and understand them. By taking the time to process these feelings, we can choose to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. In another place lived a young man named Michael, who often reacted impulsively when upset. His tendency to lash out in anger led to arguments and strained relationships, leaving a wake of hurt feelings. Determined to change, Michael decided to take control of his emotions. He realized that his impulsive reactions were causing more harm than good and resolved to make a change. Embarking on a journey of self-improvement, he started practicing mindfulness and meditation. This helped him become more aware of his thoughts and emotions. Michael also began to practice the art of not reacting. When faced with situations that previously triggered his anger, he learned to take a step back, take a few deep breaths, and assess the situation calmly before responding. Initially, controlling his emotions was a challenge for Michael. He would still feel anger bubbling up, but he consciously chose not to let it dictate his actions. Gradually, with consistent practice, he found it easier to maintain control over his emotions. Michael noticed a significant improvement in his relationships with others. He was no longer embroiled in arguments or hurting others with hasty words. Instead, he communicated thoughtfully and calmly, which strengthened his bonds with those around him. One day, a friend in distress sought Michael's advice. The friend confided in him about personal struggles, visibly upset. Michael listened patiently, offering comfort and encouragement. Impressed, the friend remarked, "You always know the right thing to say. You never let anger or frustration take over." Michael replied with a smile, "It's not that I never feel anger or frustration. I've simply learned to control them and not let them control me. It's a powerful tool that has helped me improve my relationships and my overall well-being." Michael's friend, moved by his words, asked how he had acquired this self-control. Michael shared his experiences with mindfulness and the power of responding rather than reacting, encouraging his friend to explore these practices for himself. As time went on, Michael became known for his calm and composed nature. He handled challenging situations gracefully, earning admiration for his resilience and strength. Practicing the art of not reacting brought him a profound sense of peace and happiness. The story of the king and Michael teaches us a valuable lesson. We hold the power to control our emotions. While we may not always control what happens around us, we can control how we respond. By practicing mindfulness and mastering the art of non-reaction, we can learn to process our emotions and respond thoughtfully. This practice can improve our relationships, enhance our well-being, and bring us a deeper sense of fulfillment in life. Buddha's teachings offer a timeless reminder of the importance of self-mastery. Emotions, particularly anger, are like a raging river. They can sweep us away if we aren't careful. However, by learning to let go of anger and practicing compassion, we can cultivate peace within ourselves. Buddha often emphasized the importance of letting go. Holding on to anger is like clinging to a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. Instead, embracing compassion can lead to personal peace and a harmonious life. The mind, Buddha taught, is the root of both suffering and liberation. He said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." This underscores the power of our thoughts in shaping our reality. If we harbor thoughts of resentment, anger will persist. Conversely, by letting go of such thoughts, we find freedom from anger's grip. One of Buddha's followers once asked, "How can we truly master our emotions?" Buddha replied, "He who holds back rising anger is like a skilled charioteer holding the reins of a powerful chariot. Only the weak let their anger control them." This metaphor speaks volumes about the strength needed to restrain our impulses. True power lies in self-restraint. Buddha compared holding on to anger to drinking poison while expecting the other person to suffer. In truth, the only one harmed is the one clinging to resentment. Furthermore, Buddha advised not to follow reactions blindly but to be guided by actions rooted in wisdom. He taught, "Peace comes from within, do not seek it without." This inner peace can only be found when we break free from the chains of anger, greed, and attachment. When faced with conflict, Buddha urged followers to remember that when anger arises, we have ceased striving for truth and started seeking personal vindication. Truth-seeking requires a calm and open mind, unattached to ego and free from the turbulence of anger. Our ultimate happiness depends on practicing compassion and empathy, both for ourselves and others. Buddha encouraged, "If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion." By treating others with kindness, we uplift our own spirits as well. Letting go is the foundation of freedom. As Buddha said, "Freedom is the only condition for happiness." If in our heart we still cling to anything, anger, anxiety, or possessions, we cannot be free. Buddha's wisdom extends beyond emotions. It encompasses our entire way of thinking. He taught, "All that we are is the result of what we have thought." If we wish to transform our lives, we must first transform our thoughts. Embracing Buddha's teachings requires practice, but the results are rewarding. When we stop reacting impulsively, we not only improve our relationships but also find a newfound sense of clarity in decision-making. By practicing mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts without being swept away by them. The teachings remind us not to dwell in the past or worry about the future, but to focus on the present moment. This awareness cultivates a steady mind, allowing us to respond to life's challenges with grace. In the end, as Buddha reminds us, only three things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you. By applying these principles, we can lead lives marked by inner peace, wisdom, and resilience. Let us then take this wisdom to heart, practicing the art of non-reaction, and allowing it to transform our lives for the better.